If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning things, you might as well go on the day.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, ladies? Welcome back to another Officer Tatum show. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Whoopi Goldberg said the dumbest thing that I've ever heard a human being say out of their mouth, out of anybody in any dispensation of time. She said the dumbest thing ever. And we're going to get to that here in a second. But I want to start out with the Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz interview. Now, let me say this right off the top. Ted Cruz had no business whatsoever going into this interview with Tucker Carlson. One, because it's not an interview that's had in good faith, in my personal opinion. The second is that he's unprepared to no end. And I don't know what he was thinking, going to talk to Tucker Carlson, knowing how Tucker Carlson is, and then going in there unprepared to have a good answer for anything that Tucker asked him. Now, I will say this. One thing that you will learn about debates is debates are not about who wins the debate. It's about who you think win the debate. That's the part of debate. So people use tactics to win a debate, although they're not winning the argument. And I think that Tucker Carlson is necessarily, in the clips that I'm going to show you, is necessarily not winning the argument or not. It's just that he used a tactic to discredit his opponent. Therefore, you don't believe anything that Ted Cruz has to say, whether it's logical or not. And I wanted to go through and just kind of clarify a couple things that I feel like Ted Cruz failed on in this debate style interview with Tucker Carlson. Wrote a clip.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
Now, time out.
I don't.
This is a debate tactic. How many people living in Iran is not that relevant. If the government is bad, the government is bad. That's about 15 people. That does not mean you need to know every single person or the population number in Iran to have an opinion about or want to eliminate them from getting a nuclear bomb, because the population aren't the ones who are trying to overthrow other governments, or trying to kill Americans, kill Israelis, be disruptive in the region. That doesn't matter. But what happens tactically, if you want to discredit a person, you ask them obscure questions that you think that they haven't researched, and then you discredit their entire argument. Me and other black conservatives would go to these black liberals, and that's exactly what they would do. How many kids did Marcus Garvey have? And you're like, I have no idea. I haven't thought about Marcus Garvey one time in my life. Marcus Garvey wasn't even an American. He actually was pro KKK and a separatist. But a lot of people don't know who Marcus Garvey is. So somebody, because he's a prominent figure in the black community that people observe. And so if you don't know who Marcus Garvey is, they'll throw that out there and throw some other obscure black leader out there and say, you talk about black, you don't even know black history. It's like, well, what I'm saying has nothing to do with that. Let me just give an analogy and I'm gonna finish the clip. It's just like saying, we all know that Chicago has a problem with gang violence. We all know that Chicago, run by Brandon Johnson, is becoming a mess. We have seen him time and time again support illegal aliens over their own citizens. And Brandon Johnson is not a true leader, in my personal opinion, based on what we've seen. We see shootings every weekend in Chicago. They have the highest murder rate out of anywhere in the country by number. That's clear. But what happens is I go in an interview with somebody and they go, how many black people live in Chicago? Well, this is a city that you want to overthrow the mayor. You think the mayor should be replaced. You don't even know how many black people live in Chicago. What's the demographic of Chicago? How many people were killed last weekend in Chicago? It's like, well, I don't know how many people were killed last weekend in Chicago. The overarching reality, and I could just look it up if I need to, the reality is that too many people are getting killed in Chicago. Roll the clip.
Sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's, it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who claims,
know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
Stakes. You're a senator.
See, this is called a debate tactic because anybody with a brainstem knows that we work vicariously through and proxy through Israel. That's what's happening. If you think somehow Israel is carrying out strikes in Iran solely on their own accord, where they get the money from? Where they get the ballistic missiles from? Where did they get support in the region from? America. We give them hundreds of billions of dollars for defense. Of course, we are in part responsible for what they're doing. They're our biggest ally, or at least one of our most important allies. Well, yes, we are. But Ted Cruz don't know how to answer it like a man with confidence. And what does Tucker do? Tucker is not really challenging him on a legitimate point. He's making him look like a fool. Therefore, a person wouldn't believe anything he's saying. No, we're not technically dropping bombs on Iran. Technically, Iran did not carry out the attacks on October the 7th. But they're proxy through it. They funded it. They helped train the militia, and they helped prop up I can't think of the name of the people now. It's left my mind. But they're propping up these military activated individuals who are doing certain things as proxy. Everybody knows that. Hezbollah and all of these are being funded by Iran. Same thing with America. A lot of people that are acting on behalf of America and American interests are propped up by America. That's just what it is. And Ted Cruz, unprepared for an interview, can't articulate that clearly at any rate. Roll the clip.
If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
It was a little bit more to that. They go on and you see where that's going. We're not at war with Iran, but clearly Donald Trump has postured up and we've given them American assets. So we technically not at war with Iran. And I don't think it's necessarily a war to be spoken of. We control the airspace. You know, we're supporting Israel in all of this. We just have not put our troops boots on the ground, which I think we shouldn't, because I think Israel has this covered with our support, clearly. All right, let's go to the next clip. And because it just gets worse, roll the clip.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my. You pull out the phone and use the.
It's in Genesis, but so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. And you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology. I'm confused.
All right, here you go.
What is?
If you guys can see, this is, like I said, it's a tactic. Now, is what Ted Cruz saying wrong? No, because it is in the Bible, and clearly Tucker knows it's in the Bible because he knows it's in Genesis. So, it's in the Bible, but a debate tactic will make you look bad, so therefore it discredit anything you say. Clearly it's in the Bible. Clearly Ted Cruz knows it's in the Bible, and clearly Tucker Carlson knows it's in the Bible. Exactly what he said, quote. Wrote a clip.
What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
Time out. Tucker Carlson knows the answers to all of these questions. This is just to make Ted Cruz look bad. It is clear in Genesis that there was a promise to Abraham and all of his descendants that they would inherit the land, which is in Genesis, Exodus. I mean, you can go down the list. I can show you the scriptures. I wrote them down. It's clear what the geographical location is. All of those things are clearly biblical. And when it comes to supporting Israel, it's the people of Israel, God's chosen people, the persons in this region that was also the promised land that was promised to the people. So blessing the people and the land that was promised to the people are what really Ted Cruz is trying to say, but he's unprepared for an interview, and that face says it all. But Tucker Carlson, if he claims he's a Christian and he's going to challenge theology, he knows it's in Genesis, then he do already know these questions. He's just trying to make Ted Cruz look bad and not really answer the question about what's really going on. It is very clear that the Bible talks about God's chosen people, Israel, which is the Jewish people who practiced the law of that was given to Moses. As we can still tell that there's a place right now geographically where there's people who practice the law of Moses, where Jesus came from. I mean, we can go down the list. Those same individuals, the descendants of Abraham, descendants of all of the Jewish people who were blessed in that lineage, are the people who are considered to be Israel. And the location obviously was promised, and the vision was given to Moses and others of what that landmass looks like, what geographical location that was, and that was considered to be the promised land. Every Christian should understand that, in my personal opinion, is that we are called to bless God's chosen people, and we are to acknowledge the land that was promised to his people. Not by me, not by Benjamin Netanyahu, but by God himself. And this is what Ted Cruz is trying to say, but he's unprepared to talk about. Roll the clip.
Talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the
God's
descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about
Yes.
in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years.
I'm gonna get to this in a minute because he goes down a rabbit hole. The question is, and this is why I have such a beef with Tucker Carlson, is because the questions and the conversation is not in good faith. These two men who are supposed to be Christians should have a conversation scripturally, not one person trying to make the other look bad and just denying all the factual basis of what the Bible actually says. When we talk about blessing Israel, the government structure is a structure that has been put into place, and the people of Israel have voted for Benjamin Netanyahu. Not everybody. And not everybody agreed with the Roman rule back when Jesus was alive. Not everybody agreed with the structure of government, even when you go all the way back to biblical leaders. It has not always been perfected, but you should obey the laws of the land. You should obey those who are in authority, and the people will outlast Benjamin Netanyahu. The land is there forever. So these are the things that I think Ted Cruz should have been saying, but I feel like he was caught off guard and he's all flustered. But it's not about supporting the government structure of Israel today, currently. That's not what this is all about. There will be someone that come and replace Benjamin Netanyahu at some point. There's also a religious structure that's within Israel that is not necessarily the government structure. The people who are rabbis, the people who are Orthodox Jews, that all they do is read the Torah, interpret the Torah. I mean, different things like that. That's beyond the government structure of Israel. You have the religious, and then you have a government structure. You don't have to be a religious Jew to be the head of a government structure of Israel. Not every Israeli in Israel is a Jew, a practicing Jew, an ethnic Jew, or even when I say practicing, meaning a religious Jew. There are Arabs that live there. There are other people that live in Israel. But the protection is that there should be God's people who are the Jewish people or descendants from Abraham that should be have access to and have freedom in a land that was promised to them. That's the simple fact of this. Roll the clip.
Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
All right, so I encourage you to go to tuckercarlsons.com to look up the rest of the interview if you want to watch more of it. But the short and sweet is that I'm starting to not like Tucker Carlson more and more and more. I think that obviously he whooped Ted Cruz's head in this interview, but I think if he actually interviewed somebody with a level of intellect and that came prepared, I think there'd have probably been a better discussion if it was had in good faith. I do not think Tucker is trying to have a conversation in good faith. I think his whole motive is to embarrass the person that he's talking to so you don't believe anything they say, because everything has to be wrong with Israel. No one believes that Israel is perfect, that I know of. If you find somebody, let me know that person's an idiot. Israelis challenge Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know of any Israeli that's walking around being like, Benjamin Netanyahu is perfect. We love everything he do. We want him to reign forever. Nobody's saying that, not that I know of. People are criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu and the way that the government system is working in Israel, just like we criticize what's going on in America as Americans. Nobody's saying that they're perfect. Nobody's trying to advocate that they're perfect. Nobody's saying that their military is perfect. Is the American military perfect? No. But we're not going to turn on America and think that God is not with America because sometimes people do things that they shouldn't do. Not everybody in America that claim to be Christians is a practicing Christian. Even though this is a Christian nation, we don't run it like a Christian nation in part. So you can't negate you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is the greatest country on planet Earth, our country. Our country is, by and large, you have the freedom to worship God and be a Christian here without much prosecution or persecution. And Israel is very similar to that. It's a place where Jews can openly practice Judaism unobstructed, with a safe place to do it without getting killed, generally speaking, because of their belief systems. And I think that people should just acknowledge that. If you think that the government system is not running properly, then elect someone else. Instead of acting like the whole country should be disbanded and everybody should be kicked out of the country because these are illegitimate people. That's not the case, and it never has been. And I hope that people who are Christian to read the Bible. I'm going to give you a couple scriptures if you want to take them. You could just rewind this if you want to. When it talks about the promises that were given to Abraham in Genesis 12:7, and it was also, the promise was confirmed in Genesis 15:18 through 20, also in chapter 26, verse 3, and chapter 28, verse 13, which was the promise was given unto Abraham and later Isaac and Jacob, and which were their offsprings, the lineage of Abraham. Then we can go down to the promise of the land of milk and honey, which many people may not know. It has nothing to do with honey. It actually were dates. You know, the dates that you eat. The dates were sweet, and that was considered to be like honey. So the land of milk and the dates that are there. And that's why dates are prominent in Israel right now. They make most of the dates that you have around the world. The tastiest dates that you have is in Israel. And I went to the date farms and saw them, and they're the most massive things that I've ever seen in my life. In the middle of a desert, you have date palms. And it was pretty impressive to see. Anyway, geographical location was mentioned, and the geographical boundaries of the promised land was mentioned in Genesis 15 or chapter 15, verse 18. It defined that it stretches from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river of Euphrates. And I can go down the list. You can look at it in Exodus and Deuteronomy 34. I got to say, I say Deuteronomy 34, 1 through 4. People know that they read the Bible, but if you don't know, it's chapter 34. Deuteronomy chapter 34, verses 1 through 4. Moses' vision and what he saw from Gilead and Dan, north, west to the Mediterranean, south to the Dead Sea. I mean, you go through, you can read it for yourself. In Judah 15, it outlines the boundaries of Judah, and it goes through. So if you ever want to know what the boundaries are of this promised land, you can look at those scriptures that I just mentioned. You can go back and replay it if you forgot what I had said. And then you could look at the promises. You could look at it in Genesis 12, chapter 12, verse 7, Genesis chapter 15, 18 through 20, chapter 26, verse 3, chapter 28, verse 13. So there's a legitimized promise. There's a legitimized promised land. And all of those things were prophesied to come to fruition. So 2,000 years later, it was there, right? And then we saw it go away through conquering and wars and all this stuff. And now it is backed because God's promise will never go out void, which means that when he make a promise, the promise will come to fruition no matter if you like it or not. And the reason that Jews are inhabiting that land as we speak today, no matter who's the government, no matter anything that's going on, is because the promise was made a long time ago and the promise is going to be fulfilled no matter what. And one of those reasons that Christians are supportive of that is because we all believe in the same Bible. And some people, obviously some Jews, I would say most Jews, don't believe Jesus is who he said he was because the Christians don't even know who Jesus said he was. If you ask me, most Christians. But I'll get to that at another time. Let's go to the ver where you got your girl Whoopi Goldberg talking out her, you know what, talking out her fanny pack. And this woman said the craziest thing in the world, and I'm going to quote it, and then I'm going to let her say it so you don't think that I just made this up. Black people in America have it just as bad as people in Iran. She should have to go live there for 30 minutes, and we'll see if she make it back. Roll the clip.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is.
Hold on, time out. When has there been a law of the land that you could tie gay to a car? What you talking about? We have been known, somebody tied a gay person to a car, and that our country is known for that. What are you talking about? What are y'all talking about? There's not a law in place that you can openly kill gay people ever in the history of America. What are you talking about? Like, it's just, they just say things just, I don't know. They get pressed and they just feel like they got to vomit at the mouth and say the most outlandish things. Roll the clip.
They used to just keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step during this.
Wait. That's
time out. Hanging wasn't just black people. White people were also hung as well. Like lynching was a form of punishment. Now, over the course of history, it began to be more black people than white people. But if you look at the historical documentation, there's about 3,400 black people that were lynched, and there was about 1,200 white people that were lynched that we have on record. And at the beginning of lynching, it was mostly just white people, and then it rolled like this, and it was majority black. But lynching wasn't just a black thing. Roll the clip.
I mean to say, it is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
Listen,
killed for
I'm sorry.
Well, they were like
listen,
no, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you, as a
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table should go to Tehran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But, yeah, I know that. And we all know that. But every day, we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot have property. They cannot leave States.
I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent. But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. You know, when you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
Time out. You know, one thing that I think that historically these dumb people try to do is that they forget to involve all of history. There was a point in time in this country where if you own land, you could vote. If you did not own land, you could not vote. There was a lot of black people that did vote when white people couldn't vote. They then discriminated against black people and gave them the right to vote back. But there was a large portion of the existence of voting in this country that black people could vote in when it was just about property ownership. It's just like they act like black people weren't involved in society and didn't have any say or any kind of, I don't know, like we were under the white man thumb until like the 60s. That's the most asinine thing that I've ever heard in my life. We created universities. We had theaters, bus lines, schools. I mean, inventions. Black people were millionaires in the 1800s. Black people were very prominent. Black people had enough money back in the day to own slaves. Black people owned slaves too. Just not at the level that white people did, but black people did own slaves. Hundreds of black people owned slaves in the South. What are we saying? Like I think it's a conflation of reality versus perceived reality. The first legal slave owner in American history was a black man that he actually sued to own two black people who were indentured servants, Michael Johnson, and those black people became enslaved to him for life. That was the first legal slave ownership in American history. And it perpetuated from there. If you had money, you had status, you owned slaves, you had access to do just about anything. How is there that black people own slaves in the South that black people were just so under the thumb of the white man? How do you own slaves? Harriet Tubman's husband was a free black man. How does that free black man get married to Harriet Tubman and they live together? How is that even humanly possible if black people just didn't have no rights? What, they were just slaves and couldn't do nothing in America until 1967 or 1964. What are we talking about? We talk about Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass. You go George Washington Carver, one of the greatest scientists to ever live, one of the greatest inventors to ever live. I think he invented more stuff than anybody ever in the history of this country. There's so many black people, and this is in the 1800s, early 1900s. Madam C.J. Walker, the first millionaire out of any woman to live. She was the few millionaire before any white woman. She died in the early 1900s. What are we talking about here? Yeah, there was negative things that happened to black people in America. Yes, some black people in the South had to go through Jim Crow. I mean, say some were affected more than others. But it wasn't that black people didn't have opportunities in America. Some things were not fair. Some things was not equitable. But it wasn't that black people didn't have anything. The Harlem Renaissance, Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was in the 1920s. What are we talking about? Like, Whoopi and them are living in another world. Anyway, roll the clip.
They can't go out of their house. The women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country, let's say, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Just try to understand from their point of view. From that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go for them.
I completely
Time out. Come on, Whoopi. Whoopi is a multi-millionaire for talking stupid like this on TV. She literally making millions of dollars. Her and Sonny hosted on this show, and this is the dumbest show on television. I just like talking about it because it's so asinine. But these are the two dumbest women in America, and they're making millions of dollars to talk on this show. How is America bad for black people? I don't understand. I would say a large portion of our military are black. I mean, what are we saying here? Do some black people experience discrimination? Yes. But by and large, black people have the rights and ability to do anything that a white person can do. The problem is black people are not applying themselves. Black people who are millionaires are stupid like this. If you're growing up in America and you think America is not good for us, we don't have the same opportunity, then that's what your life experience is going to be. But black people who are smart are killing it in America. These people who come from other countries in Africa come to America and live the American dream. And they're very prosperous and educated. That's because America is fruitful for those who want to plant seeds that will bear fruit. If you running around with your pants sagging and thugging all day and doing this and throwing up gang signs, I'm with the Fido Hoover rolling 60s, your life expectancy and your life in America and your American dream is not going to last long. If you run around every day, you think every white person that you talk to is the enemy, there's opportunities missed. To be honest, the white people do more for black people than black people do for black people. Let's keep it 100. Go look at any successful black man. How did they get to that point? It was a rich, successful white man who gave them an opportunity, helped them with an opportunity, mentored them. You can't name a situation that didn't occur like that. I don't know of any. White people in America have simultaneously, as they talk about the ones who were bad to black people, have simultaneously been the savior for black people in America. Outside of Christ. You know what I'm saying? Because while you had whites who owned slaves, which were not a lot of white people in the South, you had to have money and status to own a slave. So it was some studies say 2% of white people own slaves in the South. So it's not a lot of slave ownership going on anyway. But for those who own slaves that thought black people weren't human, there's the same amount or more white people who helped Harriet Tubman free the slaves, who never owned slaves, who never advocated for slavery. A matter of fact, we had a whole bunch of white people in the North fight white people in the South and abolish slavery. Where do you think slaves escaped to? They either was in the South, free, or they went to the North. White people that supported black people existed in perpetuity throughout that entire time. What are we saying? Okay, I got to get up out of here. I forgot I got a meeting I have to go to. God dang it. All right, so finish the clip. Is that the end of the clip?
There's still some. Shouldn't compare atrocities.
If you're talking about Iran, of course, is doing worse things, but relatively speaking,
well, you know
it feels bad.
Okay, but I think you know that Iran is significantly
I guess we're going to come back and talk. We're going to come back and talk more about this.
And I know.
All right, let's just go through it real quick. I forgot I have to go. I don't know. I got a meeting at 2 somewhere about 30 minutes away. I totally forgot. I actually have a meeting right now with somebody. But Let's go to Iran real quick, just in case you didn't know. All right, we know what's going on in America if you got a connected brainstem, but there's no real democracy ruled by a supreme leader, Islamic law. You can forget about free speech. You criticize the government, you can go to jail. They can kill you. LGBTQ persecution. If you're homosexual, it's illegal in Iran and it's punishable by death, not by jail. It's punishable by death. Women are oppressed. They're forced to wear the hijab and they're beaten for disobedience. No due process. Protesters are jailed, tortured, and executed. Internet censorship. There's no access to free media. Platforms are banned. Civil rights, you can forget about it. How is that close to anything that happens in America? The View should lose their rights to be on TV immediately. All right. I love you guys. I'm sorry I had to cut the show short. I really have to make some moves here and get to my son has an incredible meeting at a private school that I have to be at in like 30 minutes. So I got to get out of here. I love you. Thank you. If you super chatted, I'll try to take care of you next time. Make sure y'all go hit the links in the description section. We have an incredible fundraiser with the House of Refuge that I want you guys, if you want to, you don't have to, but if God has put it on your heart, I want you to be a part of it. We're only trying to raise $30,000, which will help 30 people for an entire month. It costs about $1,000 a person to house them, feed them, make sure they get job opportunities, preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. They go through meetings, and I mean, they have everything that they need. People who are homeless, they give them opportunity to have housing and all these great things. And to cover them for an entire month costs about $1,000. So we want to help 30 people for 30 days. And we can do that by going to the link in the description section and giving what God has purposed in your heart. You know, you can do it by day or you can do it by person. I'm personally going to give $1,000. I want to help at least one person. I want to help at least one person for an entire month. But if you feel compelled, if you want to be a help, we got other videos where you can see some of the footage. You know, I went into it, the facility, literally had tears in my eyes. So if you want to be a help, hands and feet that God has called us to be, hit the link in the description section. I love you guys. I'm out.
Oh, the land of the free and the home of